One of the challenges associated with studying brand integrations is that you can't ask people about a brand integration. You're going to get a totally artificial response. So you can't say, for example, oh, did you notice the can of Coke that was sitting on the table when people were when the judges were evaluating it? What did you think of that? You're going to heighten people's defense mechanism. You're going to get a totally artificial result. And so a lot of brand integration research has historically been done that way, where you ask people about it and you get a very distorted result when you do that. What we do at Media Science is we take the version of the integration as it aired, and we then digitally rotoscope it out to create a second version, a control version, identical in every way except for the integration. So just to use an example, you might have a truck that pulls in a home improvement show, and it's got the brand of the hero brand who's coming to save the day on the side of the truck. We will then rotoscope out the brand. So now there's a second version of that same show where now a truck pulls up, but it's just a white truck. So in every way, the show is identical, except in one, there's an integration, and then the other, there is not. And we then measure what effect the integration had. Now, the results have taught us that there's a new paradigm around how integrations work on television. Historically, the way that people understood an integration was really based on what we knew about integrations from the age of cinema. So for example, the movie E.T. was the first to really make it big. You know, E.T. had Reese's Pieces. And when he was having those Reese's Pieces, the sales for Reese's skyrocketed. And so this is what led to a real burst in enthusiasm for brand integrations. And so when that paradigm comes to television, people at first thought the power of an integration is the power of the integration itself. But what we discovered way back in 2008 in a study that we did for ABC was that actually the greater power was the effect that that integration had in priming how people then experience the adjoining ad. So a brand may have an integration, but that same brand may also have an ad that occurs in the ad break. And what we discovered using this methodology of control versus treatment, so two shows, two versions of the same show, one has the integration, one doesn't, but they both get the same ad. And then we measure the ad. And what we were able to see is physiologically, people experience the ad with the integration differently. We did this through galvanic skin response, through heart rate, et cetera. And what we could tell was that people were far more engaged. That actually translated into better memory, that translated into better attitudes, and most importantly, it translated into significantly higher purchase intent. And so what we know is that the greatest power of the integration is in how it then changes how you then experience the ad, making you far more receptive. And in this day where those ad avails are so much more precious, it becomes so much more important that we capitalize on that as best we can, which is exactly what an integration does. You know, we've had a great partnership with Triple Lift as well, helping to test different scenarios to try to understand the circumstances under which integrations are more or less effective. We used to live in a world where we had a one-size-fits-all paradigm of advertising and television. You know, we had the 30-second commercial, and we had some currencies in the market, the most important of which were ratings, that we could all trade on, that were kind of common currencies in the market. And that's how we lived. I mean, we might have done some pre-testing, you know, but for the most part, we're all working with a common set of measures. That model is flawed in a lot of ways. All brands are not the same. All categories are not the same. Our objectives are not the same. You know, each brand needs to articulate precisely what its communication objectives are. So what is it we are trying to do in our messaging? Now, fortunately, a brand is like an aircraft carrier. It doesn't change. It's not nimble. It's not moving quickly. It's going to be doing the same thing next year as it was doing last year, largely. So our communication objectives for any one brand are not likely to change a lot. But what we need to do for all brands is every brand needs to discover the best in-class measures delivering against those specific communication objectives. Let me give you an example just to illustrate that. So, you know, a lot of Mars ads are based on humor. They're funny. A lot of ads are, you know, that's one of the communication objectives is, was the ad really funny? We wanted it to be funny, but was it really funny? Now we can rely on facial coding, facial expression analysis. So a webcam on the face of the respondents, analyzing the zygomatic muscle movement, the corners of their lips, to see whether a smile is formed or not formed, so that we can actually empirically measure whether or not that is above a particular threshold of being funny. So now we have a very precise measure of whether a funny ad really was funny. So are we delivering to those objectives? And in the same way, we can go about each of our communication objectives and find the best in class measure. So for example, a lot of ads are going to be interested in attention. We know that the best in class measure for attention is calculated using heart rate. So we have the ability now to get very precise measures of attention using heart rate and so forth. So for each of these objectives, we need to find what the best possible way is of measuring for that objective.